Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, today we have a powerhouse in the studio.
Okay.
We have a visionary leader, an entrepreneur, and now also a political candidate. Think about it, leaving your home country, your comfort, your past in chase of something greater and better.
Yeah.
This is exactly what our guest today has done. And this story is one that you really want to pay attention to and listen very carefully, because sometimes we all have potential, but it is not all of us who have the courage to pursue that potential to the fullest. Our guest today, Omolara, is here to inspire, motivate, and also entertain us. So welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So we'd like to go a little bit easy today.
Okay. Thank you.
You grew up in Nigeria.
Yes.
And you moved to Finland.
Yeah.
Somewhere 2014.
Yeah.
How was that transition like for you?
Thank you again for having me here. My name is Omolara. I'm a Nigerian, born and raised in Nigeria. And then I relocated from Nigeria in 2014, 11 years ago.
Right.
So it wasn't planned, actually. It was the loss of my sister. My baby sister passed in 2014.
Sorry.
So thank you. So 5 months after I left home.
Okay.
So my elder brother see the need for me to be separated from my parent, because both, like the two of us, especially my mom, we were grieving so much and we were not helping ourselves.
Right.
So there was need for that separation to happen, and then they knew it wasn't going to be within Nigeria, that it just has to be abroad.
Right.
And that's why we wouldn't have that
Right.
easy access to each other. So yeah, and then at that time, the Finnish educational system, they have the admission just once a year, the general admission. It's passed because my sister passed in March.
Right.
So
right.
that time, the only available option was Budapest. We're just looking for something quick. And then the available admission I could find was in Budapest in Hungary.
Okay.
And then I submitted the application, July ending. And then the admission letter came in August, and I started processing my relocation.
Right.
And October, I moved away from Nigeria.
Okay.
It was not easy because, like I said, the transition wasn't something I've prepared my mind. I wasn't planning to relocate.
Right.
It's just something that came out of life happened.
Right.
And then you have to react.
Right.
So moving was not that easy. At that time, I was 23, thereabouts.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Fairly young still.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I had to move away from home, and then I was like the baby of the house because my baby sister passed already. So it was like, I'm always talking to my mom every day, and then the transition. But it was beautiful because upon arrival, I found a community there.
Yeah.
And then I have my cousins that lived in Finland, so they never left me like to be alone. So I'm always visiting Finland.
Right.
So that was why it made the transition from Budapest to be easier. Like 2 years later, I got admission in Finland, and I moved fully to Finland in 2016, 9 years ago.
So it is fair to say that you were running from grief.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
you used that grief as a fuel for success, or as a fuel to embark on a new journey.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you this question, right? I always like to go back into a little bit into your background as a child, because I think like for most of us, some of the things that we are doing now, we kind of had a glimpse like in our childhood.
Exactly.
So if I would say like, if you can take us a little back into a defining moment in your childhood that has, shaped who you are today, what would that be?
It would be the family ties.
Okay.
Basically, I'm from a family of 7,
Yep.
dad and mom, and then 5 children. But now we have 4 kids now. So I'm the first girl. I have 3 other brothers and then a baby sister, my late baby sister.
Right.
So apparently, my parents are entrepreneur. My dad is an entrepreneur. He has a construction business.
Okay.
And then my mom just do sales, buying and selling retail.
Right.
For home wares, household equipment and all those stuffs.
Okay.
So apparently in the course of our journey, my parents, with the entrepreneurial spirit, didn't allow us to. You know, from where we come from in Africa, this education is a priority. You can't just start venturing into. So we're not allowed to practice sales or to do work or start earning at such an early age, because they believe once you start getting that, you get distracted from your studies, in quotes. Yeah. But then the beautiful part that defined this present journey, I'm a fashion entrepreneur.
Right.
The beautiful part that defined this journey was when I was in 100 level, my first year in the university. I was just 16.
Okay.
And we had strike.
You were in university already at 16?
Yes.
Okay. So you must be a nerd in a way then. I mean...
Let's say.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I finished my secondary school at age 15. So 16, I was already in university my first year.
Nice.
So we had our first strike then. And then we came home from school.
Yeah.
There was riot in school. We came home. And there's this one of the national TV, Saturday morning, we call it AM Express. It's a 1-hour program on NTA. So we're just watching the program. So these AM Express, they bring creatives. So they just display something. And that time, bead making was in vogue.
Right. So this was still in Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
Right.
And that was in 2008.
Okay.
So this lady came, she's an entrepreneur and she had this bead making business. Mm-hmm. So she was brought to AMS Press on the national TV and she was just showing how to make a bead bag, apparently. But you know, in an hour, you can't actually get all the training. Yeah. So she did some part and then the next part we were going to show jumped to the whole full bag. Mm. And then I went to the market. I went to buy beads.
Okay.
I started practicing. I used a lot of mistakes and that was how I got my hands on bead making.
Okay. But at the time you were supposed to not...
exactly. Right. But then my parents supported creativity, just that you can't monetize it.
Right.
So I started making beads and I was like, this is beautiful. Then I made a bag for myself that I used to church. I believe it's still in my room back home now.
We would like to see it sometime.
Yeah, sometime. Yeah. Then everyone keeps saying, where did you get this from? Beads used to be very expensive. Then I said, I made this.
Right.
So people started saying, can you make for us? Okay. So my mom was like, not yet. So I returned back to school. Yeah. So I wasn't even allowed to still practice the skill. Yeah. But upon graduation, I was waiting for my first year. We have this 1-year military service also in Nigeria after
like
graduation.
A national service type. Right.
So we meant to go for a year and then I was waiting for my call-up letter. So my dad said, instead of wasting at home, not doing anything, what will you like to learn as a craft?
Right.
So it was just...
1 year period. So
I just went to learn fashion design.
Okay.
And it was just for a period of 2 months. My call-up letter came. Okay. And then I left home. And while I was learning, my baby sister was like, she was a medical student at that time. Okay. So she was like, Auntie me, I love what you are doing. Can I join you?
Right.
So a month after my dad got me the sewing machine and everything I needed, the generator, light issue. So we're always making dresses together. So coming to Europe, and after losing her, I was like, what is that one thing that we shared in our last moment that I can keep and live with her forever? Like I still have her with me. Right. And this was the fashion design. Right. So that was where FJoy, and FJoy, my fashion business name, it's her name. Okay. So that is how all this thing come together, came up.
So you actually answered almost the next question because I was going to ask like, what
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, first of all, sorry for your loss, for your sister. And I'm sure like now she's an angel in heaven who is watching all the beautiful things that you're doing. You wear a lot of hats. Yeah. You are a fashion designer. You are a dean. You're an entrepreneur, and also now you're like a political candidate. Yeah. What is your drive to take on so many leadership roles?
People don't believe when I tell them I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
So apparently, I don't like to be in the limelight. I don't like to be seen. Right. I love to do things behind the scene. I'm someone who believes in your work will speak for you. You can drive things out and then push people out. But I avoid as much as possible to take on leadership roles. But it just feels like, I think we had a discussion prior to like, when time is right, it will hunt you down.
Right.
So many of these things are things I didn't go out to say, I'm going to do this, or I want to take up this leadership role. It's just like you are called to serve, and then you try to avoid, you shied away, you try, I've been, last year, one quote that was given to me by, you mentioned being a dean, it's for the Temitope Olagbegi Circle of Influence. So one thing Mamo, we call her Mamo, was emphasizing last year was you can't be a silent powerhouse.
Okay.
So I think that was the breakthrough for me to come out of the shell.
Right.
It's enough. It's high time you stop being a silent powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's time for you to speak. You say, okay, my work will speak for you, but people want to see who is behind that work. So I think that was a defining moment. So I won't say I intentionally just woke up and say, yes, I have the capacity. Honestly, sometimes I still laugh, and I literally just laugh and okay, you are actually doing this for real? Yeah. But yes.
So thanks for that quote, because otherwise we wouldn't have you here sitting with us today.
Exactly.
So African Wedding Affair. That is also one of
my projects,
your creative projects.
Yeah.
What did you see? What gap did you see that was missing that you thought you need to fill it with African Wedding Fair?
So like I said, I moved to Finland 9 years ago. So I got married in Finland 7 years ago. And when I was going to get married, that was where this idea came from.
Okay.
I was looking for a makeup artist that do for people of color.
Right.
We couldn't find any.
In Finland?
In Finland.
Okay.
And the only information we got was to go to Mark, and then I would get a product for certain amounts, and then I would get booked for a session for that day, whatever day I'm interested in. So I told them the day I would like to. Unfortunately, the whole day was booked.
Okay.
And then Mark said, we're going to get your number and put you on a waiting list. So if someone cancels, we'll call you. Okay. Apparently, nobody canceled it 7 years later.
Wow.
So it was after I had my daughter, and 2-3 years later, I started meeting people, and I got to know we have not one, not two, even in Usima region, makeup artists are of African descent that can do for people of color.
Right.
And they've been present in Finland for. So I was like, okay, so where can we find these people?
Yeah.
Is there any directive? Why are they not present online? Why are they not visible?
Right.
Why do we have all these? And in the course of even getting married, when I was looking for some particular product, I got married 11 days after my graduation.
Okay.
So I have a lot of things going on at the same time. So I was looking to outsource some particular things.
Right.
But then the only thing, when you search Google, or the Google Analytics just bring you stores from Paris. Those are the closest to me.
Okay.
Paris, Germany, and UK.
Right.
So I'm like, does that mean these are not existent in Finland?
In Finland, exactly.
So it was in my course of registering my business and then going for exhibition. I started meeting people. I'm like, so where have you been all your life? And then people tell you, we've been in Finland 10 years ago, 13. Why are you not anywhere? Why are we not seeing? And because Finnish business, you can see their directive somewhere.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of immigrant-owned businesses that are creatives, that offer services that are not well known.
Okay.
So in 2021, I wrote the first project plan and I submitted to Expo City.
Okay.
Then it was rejected.
Right.
So I knew I had to do more homework.
Yeah.
So I started going for more exhibitions. I started asking questions, and then I registered for this Love Me Do, the Finnish wedding fair. So I started going, and then I was in the process. I could see how they plan things and how to write a project plan, just like you have to do more homework.
Right.
So that was when then this needs to be redefined. And I wrote a new project plan and submitted to Expo City, and it was approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So the goal is to get, because we have a lot of immigrants-owned businesses, creatives, but we need the visibility. We need a business directory where people can also access us.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. So have you seen any, obviously now your project was accepted and you've already done the first one. Right. So have you seen any impact already yet?
The first impact was the first thing I mentioned during the promo was when we speak individually, it sounds like a whisper.
Yeah.
But then when we come together collectively to speak, then we are making a sound.
Right.
And change doesn't happen a day.
Exactly.
But then the first thing after, it was just in January that someone just called and said, I'm getting married in summer. I need this service. We've been looking, we couldn't find.
Right.
So we found this platform. I was like, this is the goal.
Yeah.
Like you have a platform where you can see that these things are actually existing in Finland, and people can reach out. I think I made a post like, this is so, even though we'd never had the event yet that time, it's beautiful to see that this is actually achieving its aim before it starts.
Exactly. So, I think like it's quite clear at this point that your work consistently emphasizes on diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
Why is that so important to you?
Because the world is diverse.
I mean, obviously they say when you go to Rome, you do as the Romans do, right? So let's assume you are in Rome now. So why is that so important to you?
It is because having for any community that's going to experience growth, you have to be open to change.
Right.
You have to be open to inclusivity, to diverse opinions. So when you are just one way, if the world is just white and black, it would be boring, apparently.
Right.
If we just have a one-way thing. So why not explore? Why not see? We have nations that are doing all these things and we can see how they've excelled, how this diversity has actually helped them grow and groom also the upcoming generation.
Right.
So this is a very important message because what is life without diverse opinions? And
why politics though? I mean, you're already having an impact as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to go to politics and why now?
Honestly, I didn't choose politics. Coming from a background, from an African background, I would never venture into politics.
Okay.
It will never be part of my plan. I think I made a post on my Instagram the first day I was going to announce that I would be running as a political candidate.
Right.
And in the caption I wrote, I laughed because that was what happened. I literally laughed.
Right.
Like, just like Sarah, I said, me, politics, this is not possible. And last year, I was just having a conversation with a friend and we're just highlighting what project I want to do and everything. And he just said, I think the next thing for you would be to go into politics in Finland. I'm like, just cancel it.
Yeah.
Like never.
Right.
And then I told him also, like, coming from the kind of background I come from, politics won't even be a thing for an introvert or for someone who just prefer to impact in their own way.
Right.
So not something I'm going to opt for. But then early this year when I got a call and it was like, we've been watching you closely, so why not? There's this thing running in April and you still have the chance. I'm like, the next thing I did, I was just like, it's okay, mama. And then I just turned to my husband after I dropped the call. I laughed so hard. I laughed. It was funny. Even remembering how hard I laughed, I'm still finding it funny.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, never.
But here we are now. You are running.
And then 2 days after, it keeps like the confirmation keeps coming back to me.
Right.
And then it feels like the word keeps haunting. And then I had to call my mentor and said, someone called me and told me this. Yeah. But I'm like, no. And now I had to speak like to 4 different people. That's very important in my life.
So was it like a total stranger who called you to?
It wasn't a stranger. It was someone I know.
Right.
And then it was just like, you have an influence already.
Yeah.
And we are doing something. We think it's time. We want you to speak louder also in position of authority.
Right.
So I had to call people. In fact, I called my parents. I called my big auntie here. I called people who prayed together also that I shared faith with. And then I was just sharing with them. And then it just felt like this is the right thing to do. And one word that now came to me, like I was mentioning, being the Dean of Education for the TOCI. Yeah. I put also in the platform and then they said, the change you want won't come to you. You have to move also and be part of it. That was the starting point for me.
So now you're running for ESPO regional and municipal elections.
Yes.
That's a very bold move.
Yeah.
And this is also the same city that rejected your first project.
Yeah.
What made you realize that you need to do this? Because you have been working with them for a while. And initially they rejected your project, but afterwards they accepted your project, right? And I think, like, you know, for a lot of immigrants, especially like immigrant entrepreneurs, there's a lot of bureaucracies, there's a lot of struggles with opportunities and stuff. Did you notice that there's something missing, that you wanted to be there so that you could help on a larger scale, or what was the motivation over there?
Yeah, so one thing I mentioned during some of the panels I've been to was we have people that make decisions for us in the city, the region, and the municipal level. Yeah. But then they make decisions based on their own experience, based on what they have, based on what is around them. So we actually need, one thing I see that is missing is representation. Okay. Because if this keeps going on and we have no one from our community that can actually tell them our pain point, you know, one thing that was being highlighted during the panel is Expo is trying to build a community where we have over 50 languages for children. I'm like, that is good. Yeah. But then these languages we are building, creating activities. Have you actually reached out to the family in need of this? Yeah. Are the families even aware that this exists? Right. You can build something. Yeah. But then have you communicated? I'm part of those immigrants also. Right. You are part. We have other communities. Right. We have over 40-something African countries represented here. Right. Are they aware they have their language in Expo City? Right. Those activities. Right. So we actually they are making decisions very good. Yeah. They're making things based on their knowledge, based on their own pain points. But then if nobody is telling them from within my own community, yes, you have our good interest. That is good. But then you're not communicating with us the way we want to be communicated to. Right. So that is why we need representation. And that is why I say, I think it's just the perfect time. Right.
I would also like to ask a little bit about your own challenges as an immigrant entrepreneur in Finland. What are some of the challenges that you have personally faced, and how did you deal with them? I mean, obviously, we're going to have you soon fixing our problems, but who helped you fix your problems?
One major thing was navigating the ecosystem, the business ecosystem in Finland. Right. Where I come from, you can wake up tomorrow and say, I've not found a job. I'm starting a business. Right. You just open a kiosk right in front of your house and start selling. And then you get your customers. But here, there are laws. There are things you need to do. Even as a freelancer, there are things you need to find. You don't want to get yourself landed in the police station or have problem with Vero at the end of the year. And it's so hard. That's another part of it. Like most of some of my products, like I'm infusing African designs and European stuffs here, right? Yeah. They come from Africa. Right. So now, when I make purchases from Africa, I don't know if VAT is included or not. Right. And then when you get your stuffs here, you are selling, the cost of purchase is not considered. Right. Because there was no VAT involved, even though you present all the receipt. So there's still this disparity and this big gap between trying to get your business, balancing your expenses and everything. And then getting the business ecosystem, like I mentioned, the VAT, we have a lot of accountants and bookkeepers and everything, but it's hard to find the one that can actually relate to your own background. Right. To how you bring your stuffs in and everything. So basically, and then getting access to customers. In my country, you can start dancing and then people see what you are selling. Here, make noise and dance from today till tomorrow. You are not reaching the target audience. So, but then, you just have to, because I've had to go to, I went to Omnia, I went to the entrepreneurship school for a year. You know, when you're just in search for knowledge, your thirst for perfection, even though perfection might not exist, but then being close to perfection and everything, you just have to do your homework. So one thing I did was I registered for the Startup Refugee Business Development Program. And then through these, you get called to exhibitions, you get invited, you have to do projects.
Right.
And then you get to meet other immigrant entrepreneurs also. You share your pain points. And then, honestly, being an entrepreneur here, you need a very solid system around you, because you will just be having emotional breakdown every now and then.
Yeah.
So just have these things in place. And afterwards, I think Africa are also part of my success story in business. Like, you just network. Networking is not overrated in Finland.
Okay. As
much as you're looking for a job, even as an entrepreneur, you need to network.
Right.
Just that you need to find the right
people.
Exactly.
Fact. So I think this is quite a good place to ask you, because you're also the dean of TOCI education. What is the most rewarding part of mentoring others?
When you share your knowledge, you learn also.
Fact.
And in the course of sharing, you see some things you want to develop on also.
Right.
And the more you share, the more you also want to build yourself.
Exactly.
I don't want to remain stagnant and just keep sharing the same old story from 5 years ago. You were building.
Right.
You are gaining more knowledge, you're gaining. And the more you share also, you become an expert in something.
Exactly.
So it's
so
just...
like they say, when you learn something and then you teach it to somebody, the fact alone that you can explain it for another person to understand
makes you become better.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the question I want to ask you also is like I said earlier on, you wear so many hats, right? How do you manage to stay focused and motivated? Because it's very easy to get dragged into. Exactly. So how do you stay focused and motivated?
Like I said, it's just last year that I started coming out more often. I'm an introvert. It's so hard to believe.
People, it's really hard to believe.
People don't believe. But then my me time is something very, very important.
Okay.
I can be talking to you now and then in the next 5 minutes, my social battery, once it's out.
Right.
It's out. So I have to just move back to refuel.
Right.
So it's kind of help. And in this moment, it might just be surfing through the internet or just flipping through the page. I love to read. Right. So just flipping through the page of novels, an idea will it might be just a caption or something. An idea will just sprout up. So it's always like my me time, and I have a good community of friends and family, so they help. Sometimes when I want my kids away from home, just for a few hours, yes, I have the support system.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you have already, shown us that you are very resilient. You have managed to turn even grief into great success.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you this, right? If there's somebody or like a person who is struggling with self-doubt, what advice would you give them?
I'll say just be yourself. Everything you need is within.
Right.
Even the self-doubt is a step towards greatness, because I've had a lot of those also, Sometimes it feels like, why are you doing FJoy in the first place? Is it just about your sister? And then does it even make sense that it's just about her or whatever you are doing, just like your life?
Right.
Those doubts will come. And when self-doubts come, just know you are on the right path. It's just like you're on the right journey. So it's just for you to just introspect, just look within.
Right.
And then if there's something to fix. And please don't underemphasize the power of community. So if you need help, help with one thing I've discovered with this African Wedding Fair project, like I said, after I got rejected in 2022, I kept back.
Right.
Until last year, I revisited and write the project again, early last year.
So you didn't give up?
Exactly. But then those moments, I was like, do you want to do this again? But then apparently when I started the execution, I see that there is a whole community that are ready to back you up.
Right.
Like the help, because I was like, you don't even talk to these people. You've never been to any events, There will always be those voices.
Exactly.
Keeping you back.
Exactly.
Like, I don't attend events. I don't. But then I see that I just call, even to call, I prefer text message.
Right.
But then, and I'm like, okay, I just drop message to people, and then they were calling out. Do you want to pick this call? And then I picked, And then they're like, this is spot on. Where do you want me to come in? I'm like, really? So those self-doubts, they're just telling you're on the right path. And just go for whatever you want to do.
Okay.
But then you have a whole lot of support. And if you think you still need more, speak up.
Right.
Yeah.
There's this question that I also want to ask you, because we've spoken a lot about your struggle as an immigrant entrepreneur, and obviously now you are successful, and now you're going, to the next chapter, which is politics, right? So you also mentioned that we don't have so much representation in places. So, it's quite understandable that if people don't understand us, they don't know what we need.
Yes.
And so they are not able to give us what we need, right? So let's say that when people vote for you, or when you are elected, what is like one policy change that you think would make things a little bit easier for our journey as immigrant entrepreneurs in Finland and Europe, so to speak?
Yeah. So one, I'm not going to stick to one.
Okay.
Maybe
give
three.
us a few.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because three things that I'm very passionate about, just like I mentioned, the representation, and then I've walked this journey.
Yeah.
So the first major one is highly educated immigrants having access to professional jobs.
Right.
This is something I was part of a campaign last year, and then we just got an award for that last week.
Okay, congrats.
Because it was a campaign proving, there are a lot going on. And I read one on Ule TV also by Restore Institute, which was saying, thank you, Suomi, but goodbye.
Right.
Like, people came here, they start from undergraduate to master's degree to doctorate. Like, Finland spent over 500,000 euros on their education.
Right.
But for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, they couldn't still land a job. And now even the many jobs are so hard to find.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, I'm at this point of breaking forth. Like, thank you, Finland. You've invested so much in me, but then goodbye.
Right.
Like, so, I need to go where I can make use of my skills and where I'm accepted.
Exactly.
So why, until Finland come to realize that they are losing a lot of potentials and opportunities from these knowledge and skills. So we need to come to that realization that we don't want to keep losing this.
Right.
Because there are always shortage of staff one way or the other, but then we need to be more open to these international talents.
Right.
And the second one, which is still part of this, is having access to having better access for immigrant entrepreneurs. It was last year I got to know like there are a lot of projects, even from EU, from the Finnish government, but no one, forget about Startiraha, forget about the 700 euro monthly. Those are just basics. Those are just ways of keeping you at the barest minimum as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Like, you have this access, you get 700 euro Startiraha, maximum 1 year. Then what next?
Right.
Until we come to realize that these entrepreneurs are also job providers if they actually bloom into what they want to become.
Right.
So we need better access. And then the healthcare, it was recently also I was reading, some things that we are not open to. And then when you are in that position also, you really want to explore and know the pain point of your people. That now people, for non-urgent care, people have to wait over 4 months to get attended to. And normally it shouldn't exceed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was a victim of that also.
Okay.
And then so we need better access to healthcare. We don't want to wait until things become full-blown and can't be minded again. And you need to go to surgery or you don't have a choice. I had my throat surgery last year.
Okay.
And this is something I've been on for over 6 years. I go to emergency. They didn't even put me on waiting list. I go for emergency and then they put me on Burana. You'll be fine. It's just flu. Until 2023 August, when my left ear went deaf.
Right.
And it was the doctor that I found, and I was like, oh my God, we need to do this urgently. This is bad. And I've been coming for over 5 years.
Right.
I have friends got diagnosed with cancer, and she has been complaining for over 3 years. And now she's in her last stage.
So they could have found it out.
Yeah. So So we need better access to healthcare system where people's pain are not just shoved aside. So we are able to cater for things from the grassroots before they become something you don't have a choice or that can lead to death.
Okay.
Thank you.
So guys, you heard it from Omolara. She's going to give us more better healthcare and education. I mean, I understand it's quite interesting that, you know, you spend so much money educating people, enhancing them with tools, yet you don't have anything to do with them, right?
Nothing afterwards.
And then we complain that, you know, people come here, take advantage of the free education, and then they leave.
Yeah.
So I think that's also like really interesting that, you know, that is one of the policies that you would want to see
change, yes.
Before I ask you this, I have two more questions that I want to ask you from my list. I want to ask you this, right? I always see in the news that Finland is the happiest country in the world. Obviously, everybody, like all my friends who live abroad, they always send me the news and then they ask me, like, is it true?
For the 8th time now.
For the 8th time in a year. And they always ask me, is it true? Personally, I always respond, forget about that. I have my own theory about why people, especially people outside, think like Finland. I think Finland should be, based on my theory, it should be the happiest country in the world, based off of all the things that we get, you know, in terms of social security, in terms of healthcare, and all those type of things. But happiest country in the world, I don't know about that. So if I'm putting you on the spot, what is your own observation?
I would say, just like you said, happiness is relative.
Right.
So it depends on whoever is making that decision.
Yeah.
So because for me, even, I'm always saying many African countries, even the Serbs, of course, we're not going to use it because the kind of joy even you derive, even though you don't have all the necessities.
Yeah.
But then the joy that comes from within, and just even the resilience to just go about life and you still be able to face tomorrow. But yes, Finland is an introverted country, in quotes.
Right.
That's the best word I can use. So for me also, I'm in Finland, I live here, so I found it as a second home. Like where I come from is an extroverted country. You can have your personal space and say, so for me coming here was like a perfect fit. Like, oh, finally the space. You don't have people just coming to knock your door or something. Of course, my community can come to knock my door now. But definitely, so I don't want to, you've put me on a spot, but then I would just try to avoid it a little and say happiness is relative.
I mean, now you're a politician, you have to be political.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So happiness is really relative. So it depends on individual. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like giving up?
Of course, the thoughts will come. I've had, like I mentioned earlier, like I've had moments of self-doubt. And moment of, is it even worth it at the end?
Right.
And even moments of, you know, for someone who have suffered loss, and then when I reminiscence on the moments my sisters have aspirations and she's saying, I want to do this, and then a medical student, and then she's an extrovert, and she just explores and do a lot of things at the same time. And then I'm like, at the end of it, what's all this for? Right. You know, so I have those moments. But then I'm like, as long as we are here, since death is not coming to knock anytime, I don't know. Yeah. So why not? Why not just make impact? And then whenever you leave, because our own impact, even though she lived for just 19 years, still lives to today. Right. So yes, why not? So I've had those moments, but then that even at any given time, but still make impact while you are here. Right. So those are the drive and push, and then you shake it off. Right.
So I will ask you this again. If you could leave our listeners with one powerful message about resilience, success, change, what would it be?
Change is constant, honestly. Like I mentioned while talking earlier on this show, I said, I would never have imagined being a politician, never. But then when something is right and then it's the right time, it will just come to you and then you adapt to the change. Right. So change is constant. Just be ready to evolve with the change. Just be ready to go with the flow as it's been dictated to you as you get inspired, and you have all the power within you. You have what you need to succeed, honestly.
Right.
Void of the self-doubt, of the what ifs, of the but why me or whatever. You have everything you need to succeed. You just need to. I have moments of procrastination. I have moments of. It's not like I have it all figured out.
Right.
You know, it's easier to say you do this. It's easier in words than doing actually.
Right.
So I've had moments of these things, you know. But then everything you need to succeed is just right there within you. And in the moment of self-doubt, just be gentle with yourself. That's one word I have actually. Don't be too tough on yourself.
Right.
Life is a journey. So in the course of journeying this journey, you will learn, you will see, and don't see mistakes as mistakes.
Right.
Just see them as your attempt to succeed. And then life is just showing you what you should do better.
Right.
Because if you didn't attempt at all, you failed already.
Right.
So even failing is a good part to, you've actually attempted this.
Right.
And then here I am doing it well. So
before I ask you my last question, where can people connect with you and follow your journey?
Of course, I have my personal page, but then I think I do more. I'm more involved on my business page, which is F Joy.
Okay.
F, the normal F, and then Joy, and then Couture.
Okay.
So like F Joy Couture. And then my name is Omolara Odediran, and I'm actively present on LinkedIn also and Facebook.
Okay.
So you can connect with me and then on my website.
Okay. So we'll try to put your details in the video description so that people can follow. Now, my last question, which is not on this part.
That's fine.
But somebody said that I should ask you this question.
Okay.
And she said that everybody knows you as F Joy.
Yeah.
People don't really know who you are. So who is Omolara?
That's a deep question. Okay, my name is Omolara Odediran. I'm the creative director of F Joy Couture, a fashion brand in Espoo, Finland that is in the mission to bridge the cultural gap in the fashion industry in Finland and in the Nordics. So I'm an agent of change, basically, and I'm an advocate for diversity and inclusion. Like you mentioned, I love to volunteer. I love to do to commit to causes that deals with children. I love kids, not like my own kids, but I love kids.
Right.
So I love to impact. And I love to serve. I'm not going to say I'm an introvert anymore because now, but then
that chapter is over.
Maybe not, because I still need those personal space and So, and recently I commenced a project that is called African Wedding Fair, and the 4 goals for this project, not like wedding like that, but the 4 major goals that we are highlighting with this project is the community and creativity, culture, and commerce.
Okay.
Those are the 4 C's that this project is emphasizing on. And through this mission, we are looking forward to bridging the gap among immigrant-owned businesses and consumers in Finland, and then beyond Finland also. So we are getting our hands on different projects. And from this last concluded one, we're able to sign a deal that is taking me to Africa.
Okay,
I've not visited Nigeria since I left.
Wow.
But now I think I'm ready to go home.
Right.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your presence.
Thank you so
taking
much.
time off your political campaign to share some wisdom with us.
Thank you.
We at God's and Pride Podcast, we are really happy that you came and shared your knowledge. If you're watching this video before the election, please vote for our sister, because like she said, we need representation, and then we need people like us who understand us, who are aware of our, our problems and challenges. She's one of us, so hopefully support her, vote for her, and let's get her to be in a place where she can represent us and also have some impact with all the experiences that she has. So Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.